Welcome to Landlord Diaries, where we talk about midterm rentals and the opportunities behind them. We'll share landlord stories, talk about maximizing investment potential, and discuss how to live the very best landlord life. This podcast is proudly brought to you by Furnished Finder, the place for everything midterm rentals. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoy our content.
Hey, everyone. We are back with another great episode of the Landlord Diaries. It's your host, Kelly Bailey, midterm enthusiast in the Austin, Texas area.
And hello, everyone. This is Katie Lyon, your co-host. We're so excited to be here today with Bob and Brandon. These two are from Chicago, Illinois, and they have built such an amazing company from the ground up, serving corporate housing, travelers, insurance placements. They have a larger property, so they're taking a little bit of a different spin on midterm rentals than a lot of us do, but they have put together everything they have, like literally from the ground up. And it's really cool to talk to them about all the work they've done, all the processes they've put together, and just how they've made such a thoughtful company. So everyone, no matter what your level of investment or experience, is going to have something to pull from today. And I cannot wait to hear all the feedback. And just as a reminder to everyone, this episode and every episode is brought to you by Furnished Finder. We are the online marketplace for listing and finding your next midterm rental. So you can list your property there for $99 a year, and you get unlimited leads, unlimited tenant communication, and you can also use our sister company, Check, if you need any help with tenant screenings or leases or processing rent payments, all the stuff. We got your back. So make sure you check it out and enjoy.
Today we talk with FreeStand Home Solutions CEO Bob Wilson and President Brandon Harris. FreeStand's motto is to chase perfection and hold the team to a standard unforeseen in the industry. Hey guys, we're excited to have you here today. How are you doing, Bob and Brandon?
Hey Kelly, hey Katie.
Hey, how you doing?
Awesome. So, how did you two guys meet?
Well, first, just thanks for having us on. Officially, this is our first podcast, so we are excited to be on with Furnished Finder here. So thanks again. But Brandon and I let him tell the story, but we have known each other for quite some time. And so it's not just business, but it was personal very early on as friends. Then we had some business relationship that really grew at AT&T/Comcast, and then it grew into FHS. So he has more details. He's a good storyteller, so I'll let him finish the story there.
I mean, he gave the highlights. We grew up as childhood friends. We were the best man in each other's wedding. So growing up, it was like a Batman and Robin type of dynamic. For whatever reason, it was like he's older than me, but as we got older, my hair started turning gray, and I feel older. And I don't know how that happened, but we were always pretty tight. But as we got older, we started having more opportunities to work with each other from a business standpoint, as Bob mentioned. And again, being able to partner with someone who sees things in a similar fashion as you is always a benefit, and it always works out.
And you guys are in Chicago, correct?
Yes.
So talk us through your portfolio, how you grew it to what it is now, and kind of what you use that portfolio for. Is it long-term, mid-term, short-term? Tell us about your business and how you got to where you are today.
Wow, that's a long story. Well, let's start with the Cliff Note version, and we'll see how much time we have. But in short, we have about 46 furnished properties. They're all single-family homes. And 3 and 4 bedrooms. So we specialize in 3-4 bedrooms. We do have a couple 5, but that was by mistake. Really, our focus is 3 or 4 bedrooms, 2 full bath. We started 5 years ago, 2017, but we really grew that portfolio over the last 3 years. The first couple of years was testing the concept. We wanted to know what the corporate/insurance housing was all about. We didn't know if it was truly going to be a game changer, lucrative. So we tested it for a year or two. Funny story about that, we had to use one of our own houses in order to do that, our own homes. So once that worked out, we proved it in a year. We said, okay, let's go full force. And so Brandon and I were speaking about strategy. We both worked full time at other companies. Eventually, we left those companies. I left mine in 2019. Brandon can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he left in 2020. And then we were full time and dedicated to FHS. But we provide those 46 homes to corporate and insurance clients. Midterm rentals, 30-day minimum is really what we go after. But we've really developed some good relationships over the last 5 years in the industry. So we're still newbies. We still have a lot to learn, but so far we're having fun.
And tell us, do you own all of those properties or do you co-host some of them? What does that look like from a ownership type of structure?
Yeah, 50-50. So our goal is always to create some long-term asset growth, of course, but it is quite expensive to own 46. So we do partner with other owners as well. And we do what's called a corporate lease. And so we like to control the inventory. We never want to give a bad experience to the client. So we won't have an owner partnership where at any moment they can pull out. It would be a long-term agreement in place, at least 2-3 years. That way we can have a consistent experience with whatever clients we're working with. But yeah, our goal is always to hold 50-50.
It's funny, in the early days, I remember individuals we would go to who owned properties. Once we kind of sort of had our portfolio set up, whether we were growing it, we would go to individuals and have this conversation about what we do. And there was this initial pushback because it was kind of unknown, at least in this area. And so individuals would be a little, apprehensive. As time has gone on, we get phone calls all the time from individuals who want to partner with us because of the reputation that we've built in this industry. And it's always good to be at a point where you can kind of sort of be picky and choosy. Now you can identify specific areas that you want to target, specific homes. Bob mentioned we have a few 5 bedrooms. We actually have a 6 bedroom as well. And we have a few contracts, and I won't go into specifics, but with professional sports teams. And they love to have those larger homes because obviously they can fit more of their players there. And so we have a few deals like that where it just made sense to go in that direction. But, we've been able to diversify our portfolio by just being very good at what we do in terms of building relationships and following through on what we say we're going to do.
So on your website, you said that, the experience of some people in the business traveling world was that, companies would choose these locations, but the actual sales employees or the executives and those agents from around the country that are traveling for work, that they weren't necessarily enjoying that experience. And so I'm going to circle back to that chasing perfection. So how have you guys taken that data you've collected to see, hey, not everyone's loving, traveling for work. How do we make this a superb experience? Because if y'all haven't seen their website and their videos and their bio about who the company is, it's impressive. Like every page I went to, I was like, wow, this is amazing. Wow, this is done so well. So they definitely chase perfection in everything they do. So what does that look like for you guys?
I mean, I'll take this one. We definitely have put a lot of work into trying to identify what individuals are looking for. A lot of market research. We've identified that a lot of individuals, their experience is what do you call it? 4 walls and a TV when they're going to travel and they're staying in a hotel, and it's just not ideal. Individuals want to be comfortable. Most people live in homes. I don't think I know anyone who lives in a hotel per se. So
Right.
they want that homey feel, right? They want to be able to relax. They want to be able to potentially bring family, depending on their set of circumstances, how long they're going to be out of town. A lot of people nowadays have pets, and they want to bring their animals with them. I mean, on an airplane the other day, and this lady had a small dog, and I just couldn't believe she was on the airplane with a dog. But individuals travel with their pets. They're like kids almost, right? And so we wanted to identify how to incorporate all of these different aspects and how to make individuals feel comfortable. And so we really tried to put a lot of thought into, things such as entertainment components, such as just amenities, overall space, fenced backyards, location. A lot of things we've tried to make sure that we separate ourselves from other individuals in this space.
So how do you do that with your entertainment options and amenities?
So we always, when it comes to securing a property, we look for that extra space first. If it doesn't have an extra space, whether it's a den, a basement, an extra little room, some homes have their regular living room and then a fireplace room, right? But we look for that extra space so we can add some component, whether it's a pool table, air hockey table. Some homes you'll see a nice little pop-up basketball, arcade style in the basement. We're going to add something, one ups. We have these custom one up cabinets where it has about 2,000 custom arcade games in it. And so it's a small investment, but it pays off quickly. And the reason why we felt it was important was based on a couple of things Brandon mentioned. One, he mentioned market research. And a quick example, we had this one gentleman early on, very early on, that he gave me a story. He says, last year I stayed in a hotel for a year without my wife. And
Wow.
he says, I told my boss this year, I am not doing it unless he can put us in a house and with my family. And he says, because I'm
Smart.
bringing my wife and my young kid who's under 2, he says, I needed some of the components, the gaming type things, because we put kids games and kids items in there as well. He says, I needed that. He says, so you guys literally saved me a lot of trouble with my employer. And so that's some of the feedback that you'll hear from clients that are staying well over 4 or 5 months. And we'll use that to influence how we design. So every home now, the goal is to always have some entertainment component.
Mm-hmm.
So this makes me want to circle back to something that both of you have mentioned now, which is market research and standing out in the crowd, and also your target market of corporate travelers and insurance placements, right? Which is not necessarily the most common tenant type for midterm rentals. Like when we're talking midterm rentals, a lot of times people think travel nurses, they think digital nomads, they think snowbirds, they think contractors, which are absolutely the majority. But Kelly and I talk a lot about that just because those are the majority does not mean that they are all of the midterm travelers. So you guys have honed in on that. I guess my question is 2 parts. A, what made you guys decide to go the midterm route and with this specific type of avatar? And B, how do you do that market research? Because Kelly and I get a lot of feedback all the time where it's a more challenging type of market research to do, especially when it comes to the demand side of how do I know if my house can be used for this, right?
Yeah. So that's easy why we chose mid versus anything else. Early on, 5 years ago, the hype was all about short term, right? It was the anything under 30 days. Uh, for me, when you think about it, I felt like that was risky. Whenever you deal with residential clients, it has an inherent risk. And I didn't know if we were prepared for that. I don't know if we wanted to do that as a company. I spoke to Brandon, I spoke to Leslie, my wife, and we just decided that we didn't want to get in that type of business. We wanted to do business with companies. We felt that was more secure. We felt that could have a longer life cycle. Sustainable is what Brandon and his background is, business to business sales. And so it just made more sense. So it was easy to choose midterm for those reasons. You take out the residential component, you bring in companies, and companies typically are looking for those who are in town to work, of course, 30 plus days. So that's why we chose that model. We didn't choose long term, meaning 12 months plus, because again, that's typically going to be your residential client. And so that midterm is really where it just seemed to fit best for what we were looking for. And then there was a need, there was an appetite. We talk about market research. Sure, we look online, but a lot of the research comes from our partners. It comes from companies we've worked with. I traveled prior to this company. And so you speak to all of our travel partners even before, and they have a big department for that. They're constantly sending executives all over the place. And you're like, well, okay, how much does it cost? They spend a lot of money doing it. It's not cheap.
Mm-hmm.
And so the budget is there. You see there's a need. It's a whole industry. And so we says, you know what? It's the research is out there. And it's going to differ in every market, of course. We're in Chicago and every state is going to be different. But one key piece of research we asked some of our current partners was what you see in Chicago. You're sending us business every day. Is that the same nationally, or are we just unique? And the response we received was, no, are you kidding me? This is nothing. This happens in every state. We are a national company. We have this type of need everywhere. So the research is out there, and the more questions you ask, you receive those answers.
That's good feedback. So true. Go ahead, Brandon.
I was going to say one thing that also contributed to the lane that we decided to stay in was COVID. Our company was somewhat new as far as how we perceived it. It was our baby, right? And we were growing it, and we were putting everything that you could possibly put into it. We were throwing at it, and then COVID happens. Like all of a sudden, you're watching the news one day, and you're like, oh yeah, something's going on the other side of the planet. Okay, and then next thing you know, it's over in Europe, and you're like, wait a minute, it's getting a little closer, and then the next thing you know, oh, cruise ships are locked in the Gulf of Mexico, and people are wanting to get into the country. And then next thing you know, you go to the grocery store, there's no toilet paper, there's no meat, there's no food, there's nothing. You can't clean anything. Everyone's panicking. And you saw a ripple effect happening. And every single industry was affected, including ours. And so I remember Bob and I being on calls literally every single day, trying to anticipate what was going to happen next. How are we going to be able to sustain what we had already built and put so much into? And there were cancellations everywhere. I mean, like, you had no idea if people were going to be able to travel, who was going to be able to travel, how long they were going to be. Would someone go somewhere and get stuck and not be able to get home? I mean, like, literally, at one point, we thought the whole world was coming to an end, right? And so from what we gathered, a lot of companies, they weren't able to, based on their business model, they weren't able to weather the storm. So one of the things that Bob and I were able to do is we were able to take what we do best, which is to be nimble. One of our benefits of being a smaller company is to be able to make decisions really quickly, because there's no board of directors, there's no bunch of red tape that we have to go through. He and I sit down, and that's where that partnership and that 20 years of camaraderie comes in, because we can see things the same way. We can see it quickly. We can make decisions decisively, and we were able to pivot the lane that we were in into a lane that we feel more comfortable in. And looking back on it, and it's a very interesting story. I won't go into too much detail, but looking back on it, it was probably one of the best decisions that we made, because it literally brought us to the point that we're at today.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So what were some of those steps? Let's get into those details. How did you get to where you are today through those struggles?
Networking, identifying opportunities to, as Bob mentioned, and early on, the trend was short term, right? And obviously, our backgrounds, we were getting into an industry that we weren't initially familiar with, so we're following the trends, right? Everyone's doing short term, so let's do short term, right? And quickly, like Bob mentioned, we just realized that was not the lane we want to be in. And obviously, COVID really helped us move into a different direction because of our calendars. Once we're able to open up our calendars and identify different opportunities, the light bulb went off. We're like, okay, this is where you want to be. You want to make sure the individuals are in these homes for minimal 30 days. We've always kind of approached that, but we just, at that point, we solidified it. Minimal 30 days. You have more stability. You're able to budget better. You're able to identify what homes are going to become available. You're able to grow at a consistent pace, because you're not always constantly having to worry about something changing every other weekend. Our neighbors appreciate it so much more. Municipalities, can get behind that a little bit more. There's just a ton of benefits, excuse me, that we identify quickly, and we wanted to make sure that we stayed with that moving forward.
Yeah. Another key item, and there's a few of them, but when you talk about details, I'd say marketing as well. For example, one thing we noticed, Katie and Kelly, is we list our homes on many platforms. It's all about where people are searching. So we might not represent that platform, but if people are searching, if corporate clients are searching on that platform, we're going to be on that platform. So we noticed with a lot of platforms, you can even take, I'm a licensed real estate agent, even MLS related platforms. If you list a property and then someone takes it, you take it down. But here's something that we discovered. You might have somebody looking to be in a city, and that home is now gone. but literally 5 minutes away is another city where you have a home. They would have never found that because you took down that one listing. They don't know that next door neighbor home, right? And so you start to say, okay, from a marketing standpoint, is that the smartest thing? Why not perhaps leave it up and then just tell them, hey, look, this one's not here, but I have an option for you. Do you know how many times we have people say, oh my goodness, thanks for at least letting me know. I had no idea this town was so close. I had no idea this home was even better. It fits my
Right.
needs better. But it's all about marketing and how do you get those leads coming in? And so I think ultimately when COVID happened, to answer your question, it forced us to be way more creative and it forced us to think outside the box. And then once
Mm-hmm.
you figure out certain solutions, you take it, you make it a part of your game plan, and you serve more of the community and those looking for homes just through those experiences.
Yeah, I think COVID as a whole took everyone in any type of business and forced a 5-year growth in a 12-month period. Like I worked for a different small company at the time. My husband worked for a small company, and everyone I knew who worked for any business where you had any type of business development role in any level, right? You were in charge of making sure the machine was still running. You had to get creative, but there was so much growth that like we as a world and as a business world really needed. So things like that, where you're saying kind of co-marketing the properties. I mean, it's stuff like that that really will set you apart and get you ahead in the market.
So you guys are talking a lot about professional relationships and really the power of networking. And that's not always easy in the 30 plus day stay because someone is like, oh, I need I have some clients that are traveling in May, but it's March and you don't know what your next like length of stay is. So how do you navigate those waters and still have your vacancy rates low and be able to keep that strong relationship with those companies?
It's a good one.
Yeah, there's multiple things, and I won't be greedy. I won't take up all this answer. I'll leave some meat in the bone for Bob there. But one of the things that I believe in is lead gen diversity, right? You have to make sure that you're pulling in opportunities from multiple places, because what happens is if you're only pulling in opportunities from one avenue or maybe two, then you box yourself in. You limit what you can do, and having the flexibility based on what you were just talking about in terms of scheduling homes when they're going to be available, when they're booked. Someone needs to get in several months down the road, and you just can't even predict what's going to be available 4 months from now. You have to be willing to walk away from some of the business, and the only way that you can do that confidently is if you know that you have a steady supply. The spigot is what we used to call it. I remember at one point we used to try to play the game where we would turn the spigot on and turn it off based on how we needed it. The bigger we got, we realized what we could do, how we operated when we had 10 properties. It's night and day compared to having close to 50 properties, right? That spigot needs to stay on. Like the
Right.
water has to keep
Mhm.
coming through because the beast has to eat, right, consistently. So in order to navigate those waters, we just have to get better at what we were already experienced in, and that's closing business. And you need to be able to have plenty of opportunities, plenty of swings, so to say. If you use a baseball analogy, you have to have plenty of opportunities to hit a ball if you want to maintain that occupancy rate that we were always striving for.
Yeah, and when you talk about Kelly, professionalism and folks wanting a home 2 months away, 3 months away, the best policy is honesty. We had to really learn when you try to get cute and what you say to a client, it could backfire. Just be honest. Tell them how you operate your business, and they may not like it, but they have to respect it. Because if you tell a client this person is using this home and their date ends on this day, however, they have the right to extend up until this day. When you give those details, here's two benefits. One, they know what they're getting. Two, you also tell them, but that's the same way we're going to treat you. If you rent from us, we will never kick you out of our house. We will
Mhm.
never blindside you. We will make sure we check with you first before we re-rent your house, and that's what we do. We will make sure you know someone's coming in. You have the first right of refusal. the same thing I'm telling you, we're going to give it to you. So you be honest. You let them know, yeah, it's 3 months out and I can't tell you right now, but I have 50 homes. I can tell you 5 of the homes in the area you're seeking to be in, 1 of them will open. The numbers show it, the stats show it. And so when you tell folks that and they're a little flexible, they wait. They call you back, you get them in a home, and they're happy because they're never asked to leave just because someone else is looking for another home.
And part of that is education too, right? Because this midterm rental thing is new, or even, it's new to the scale that it is. But a lot of us who are using midterm rentals as travelers don't do it quite as often as you might do a short-term rental, or you don't have the knowledge of, okay, this is how a long-term rental works. Like, I need to try to secure an apartment or a single family home or whatever 6 to 8 weeks out, maybe 12 weeks out. Oh, short-term rental. Okay, I know that if I book it earlier, I might pay a little bit more, but I get my pick. If I get closer, I might get a deal, but limited inventory. So it's not intuitive to a lot of travelers, and it's not intuitive to landlords too. And I've had to get used to that myself as a landlord, because we have 3 midterm rentals, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm vacant in 3 weeks. But I'm like, that's actually okay. That's okay. People come last minute so much. And the people who are planning months and months ahead, like you said, like, I'm like, I can't promise you anything on paper. This person's lease expires, but like, they get dibs, man. So you're absolutely right. And it's like an interesting kind of balance to the flow of leads, because you can be like waiting. All of a sudden you have 10. All of a sudden you have a vacancy coming up. You start to get nervous, and it's like, no. It's just the flow of it is still a little choppy because everyone's still figuring it out.
In 1984, Nike came out with a shoe that, for shoe heads, I'm a sneakerhead myself. I'm ridiculous collection of gym shoes. My wife, she's always telling me I need to, relax.
We might have to get a picture of that collection for the episode.
We might. These are. I'll show you guys the what I call the shoes that I don't wear. These are the ones that they're collector items, right? So anyway, in the mid '80s, Nike came out with a shoe called the Air Jordan, right? I think everyone's heard of it. Everyone knows about it. Everyone knows about Air Jordans, right? So the cool thing about Nike was they identified that if you release a certain amount of shoes versus the demand being over here, what's going to happen is you can pretty much charge whatever you want to charge, because they identified that if you play the game between supply and demand, then you stay on top. And so for us, again, not saying that we're going to charge whatever we want to charge. We're going to get market value. But initially what it boils down to is identifying the supply and demand. So if we can create significantly more demand, and then we control the supply, at least with us, then we're able to now not worry about as much the individuals who say, I got to get in there. And if I can't lock this down right now, then I just can't deal with you. That's fine. We can live with that, because we know that there's a line around the corner. And so we can be patient. We can wait. To your point, we can wait. It's 3 weeks. All right. That's not the end of the world. We know that we're going to be able to get someone in here. And again, that's because of the supply and demand. Nike, they figured it out a long time ago. And they're still doing it, right? People are still lining up to get Jordans, and he hasn't played since the early 2000s, and people are still lining up to get those shoes, right? So myself included, right? So that being said, it's a very similar concept, a very similar approach. Is supply versus demand. If you understand those concepts, then you'll be able to be successful in this business.
Mm-hmm. And you guys take a very different approach than a lot of your competitors, where yours are single family homes, where a lot of the corporate housing industry is maybe more condos or, multi-families that they have a ton of units in. So yeah, your niche and you go after it. I love that. I'm going to circle back to kind of the theme of our episode, which is how y'all chase perfection in your business. And I'm sure everyone's been able to hear it over and over in the way you guys think and the way you communicate. But some of those tangible things and visual things that are important, because a lot of our stays, it's all visual, right? It's like you've got to get that buy-in on social media or on your website or on platforms such as Furnish Finder to get that buy-in to stay with you guys the first time. And so one thing that I love that you both do really well is, one, you've created a timeless video of who FreeStand Solutions is and why you guys started the company, and where you're taking the company. So if someone's interested in, you know, go taking that next step and creating that level of marketing, combined with if you go to any of Brandon and Bob's listings, then you will see they've got the nice. Of course, there's video walkthroughs a lot of times, but the way that the professionalism, the way that the camera angle happens, the music with it, it's just a really good balance of, this is what the home offers. Wow, it's impressive. And I can get a good feel of the layout and size of the home based off these videos as well. So if someone's interested in that, what made you guys choose to go that route and really kind of stand above? And how much does something like that cost if someone wants to pursue that?
There's two angles to your question.
Mm-hmm.
One is when you talk about interest in, hey, I have a house, and then interest in, I like to get deeper relationship with FHS. I'll cover
Mm-hmm.
the relationship with FHS and leave the house portion for Brandon. We this is what, Q2. We're entering Q2 here in 2023. By Q1, our goal is to expand our footprint outside of Chicago. So we're going to go into another market. The reason that's significant and important is we've had over the last 3 to 6 months, people come up and say, hey, I live in wherever. I want to do this. Like, can you somehow show me something, partner with something? And we're like, well, hang on. We're going to develop the appropriate strategy to get outside of Chicago. So we are considering right now whether that is going to be a franchise system or whether that's going to be a true hiring, manager and the whole team and all that stuff. So we're going
Mm-hmm.
through the paperwork on that and figuring that out. What I will say is, if someone lives in another market outside of Chicago and they see something on our website, they want to duplicate that. We are about to enter a phase of consultation with a lot of folks to figure out what that looks like. We do want to get outside of Chicago and expand the footprint. We want to make sure that anyone who wants to partner, they're vested, meaning they have skin in the game. That way we know the market will be taken care of. And one thing that we are sold on is making sure that Brandon and I, and our team, but primarily Brandon and I, are going to train. There are so many lessons learned over the last 5 years. We don't want anyone wasting money like we wasted. We don't want anyone wasting opportunities. We've already failed. There's no need to do it again. And so we're going to have our hands in that other market, making sure that we guide, we develop, we train. So that is the answer to if someone wants to carry the FHS brand in another state. Coming very
Nice.
soon, we will have many more details on that matter. But give us about 3 months, and we'll be looking at expanding into other states.
Awesome.
Circling back around to the first part of that question, um, anytime you start up a business, and we literally started with one property. I mean, one property in Forest Park, Illinois, and a gentleman gave us an opportunity.
Shout out to Juan Hernandez.
Yeah,
Woo-hoo!
He was our number one.
Go on.
He retired in Florida, believe it or not. I want to tell him to look at
Oh,
this.
yeah,
cool.
check it out. He gave us an opportunity after we had proof of concept. I guess that was like the true first property, the proof of concept property, but the first full time FHS property gave us an opportunity, and we grew it from there. Point is this: when you start from that, you're a true startup, right? And so you have to approach things from that perspective. You have to make sure that you're very conscious of every dollar that you spend, because every dollar spent the wrong way is taking money out of future growth potential and opportunity. And so for us, what we like to always do, especially in the early days, was partner with individuals that were on our level, individuals that were trying to um, get their foot in whatever game that they were in. And so the initial video that you were speaking about, that individual, he recorded our video. I think we spent a decent amount of money on that video. And there was a lot of editing that was involved. There was a lot of, what do you guys think about this? First cut, second cut. What about this music? Should we cue in this? Should we cue in that? Should we re-record this? There was a lot of that. There was a lot of meetings about the script and how we wanted to put it together. And did you guys want to memorize it? Are you guys going to read off of cue cards? And where are we going to have it? And the lighting and make sure the microphone, like there was a ton of that going on, right? The second video that we did, which was more so about potential investors and business partners that we've worked with in the past, we had someone else do that. As a result, we got a better cost. And that individual actually has recorded all of the walkthrough videos.
Okay.
So what happens is when you start being able to put together volume, now all of a sudden your cost goes down. And so you're asking about what do we spend? A couple $100 per video. Ballpark is about what we were spending once we're able to put together the volume. But initially, when you're doing a one-off, I know for a fact the video was north of $500-600, the first initial video. And I don't remember all the details, but I know it was not something that we just looked at and just said, all right, yeah, whatever it costs, let's go ahead and spend it. We sat down and we calculated the cost to identify, would this be worth the investment that we were making at the time? Mm-hmm. And obviously looking back on it, it has been, because we get individuals who come up to us and they're like, oh, I know you guys, I've seen your video. We're humble individuals, and so when someone does that, it's like, what video? Oh, you talking about the video on the website? Really? You saw it? Like, and it's one of those things where you never like, it never gets like, you don't get used to it, right? You don't get to the point where it's like not a big deal. You're always appreciative and you're always thankful for every view that you get, for every individual who comes up to you and knows you to any degree. It's a very humbling experience. And so I would tell anyone who's thinking about doing that, depending on where you're at within the life cycle of your business, those types of investments, they definitely pay off and they're worth it.
Brandon, Bob, that is amazing feedback. I just think that you guys are good coaches. So you say that you're going to get better at the training side. Is this training for your specific properties, or are you two starting a master class someday?
No, what's funny? We actually have no desire to get into that.
That's okay.
Yeah, to get into that training on people doing on YouTube, right, or whatever. Uh-huh. We don't have. We desire to run a business. We don't want to get into just training on how to do this. We're going to run the business and grow it from there. But we mean training our folks who are partnered with the company. Just like in any corporate American job, you have training. That's all we mean. We're going to make sure we really help out.
Awesome. So we met originally at CHPA, the Corporate Housing Providers Association. So for other midterm hosts out there that are considering, should I pull the trigger and become a member? Should I not? Would y'all recommend joining the CHPA? And I think the N word is CHPA, right? Yeah. Would you recommend joining CHPA? And how has it been successful for you guys?
Absolutely. It's been a game changer. Again, anytime you get to spend time with individuals that are like-minded, that are in the industry that you're in, being able to rub elbows with individuals that have experience, it's invaluable, right? And so the things that we know now, I would say at least 30-40% of what we know now, we probably wouldn't have been exposed to, at least at this point, without the partnership with CHPA. So I would recommend it to anybody. It's worth it. The people that you'll meet are all great. I haven't had one bad experience with CHPA. It's been awesome.
Yeah, I question a lot of networking organizations. I mean, there's so many of them out there, and I always look at them with through the squinty eyes, right? But I have CHPA it has its own reputation. I mean, everyone a part of it, I would assume, feels like it's worth it. We got recommended through a partner here in Chicago. I usually wouldn't mind saying name. I don't know if she wants me to say her name, but she says, I asked her a question. I said, look, there's so many organizations out there. Which one should we join? Now, remember, as a startup, fund, you can't just be joining everything. Funds, you got to measure every fund. She was like, if you're going to join one, join this one. And we did. And she was right. So yeah, we would absolutely recommend Chippa.
That's amazing.
That's awesome. So let's talk about your booking process a little bit. You've got a lot of properties. Let's talk about how you manage all of the tenants coming and going and maintenance and property management. And also, let's talk about are you typically dealing with insurance companies directly? Are you dealing with more of the tenants? Kind of what does that day to day, like the workflow, look like for you guys?
I'll take some of this. I'll say this: we hear a lot of people say that their experiences in corporate housing, they deal with it, and I think you guys touched on it. They deal with it in a different fashion. They deal with condos, they deal with apartment buildings, and that market is, for us, it's very crowded, right? It's like a 4-lane highway in rush hour traffic, and that's just not the lane that we want to be in, right? And so the way that we approach it, it is different. However, just because something is different, it doesn't make it easy. In fact, it's significantly more complicated. And for the individuals that I've spoken to, they always ask these questions like, how did you guys solve for this problem? Or how did you solve for that problem? Or we wouldn't touch that because of X, Y, and Z. And for us, really what it boils down to is having a competent, responsible team. You have to have individuals that you can trust. You got to have people that when you get in the foxhole, you know they're going to cover your six, so to say, right? And so for us, we've had to cycle through several people in our team to make sure that we get the right team. We've had to make sure that individuals have been trained properly. There have been mistakes. There have been many mistakes. We had a situation in one of our properties where someone was supposed to go over and check the water pipes, and they didn't check it very thoroughly. And I'm sure you can imagine what happened next.
In
right?
Chicago.
In what was it, January, February?
Yeah.
Negative 15 outside, right?
Wow.
And that they didn't check it. They weren't thorough. And so that mistake cost a lot of money, right? And so things like that, you got to make sure you stay away from individuals who put you in bad situations. But as far as the booking process, there's a lot of moving parts. And, I'll lob this one up to Bob, but I'll just say for us, the key has been making sure that we put together a team of individuals that we can trust, that we know that they're going to approach the business the right way, not selfishly, but they're going to be looking out for the family, as we call it. Because at this point, if we're working with you on that level, we consider you family.
Mm-hmm.
He nailed it. There's two reasons we are successful as we are right now. Team processes. Team, shout out to our relocation team. Melissa leads that team. You got Aaron, you got Kayla. I mean, they work so hard. Brandon leads the overall operations. You got Charmaine, who's works probably more hours than anybody and she's our client interaction support. I mean, she deals, because you talk about checking in and checking out. She deals with all of the communications, all of the tech routing. You got folks in the field, John Parnell, unbelievable. I mean, these folks just work nonstop. Back end, the folks that you will never see or hear from, finance, Leslie and her team, Carol. So there's a few more. There are folks that are putting in significant hours, but that's
Sherelle.
5 years. Sherelle, yeah, she's our designer and manages the cleaning team. So you give a lot of you mentioned Katie and Kelly. You like the properties? That's Sherelle. She can.
Way to go, Sherelle.
That's her. she did it. And so you talk about and Trevor, right? I'm thinking, if I'm missing anyone else, make sure you throw me in, Brandon. But there's so many folks that are just
our cleaning team.
Yeah,
they work so hard.
Oh yes.
When people pay a cleaning fee, they just assume you can just leave a home any kind of way. I mean, I won't even go into some of the stories, but anybody in this industry, they know what I'm talking about. We'll give that little wink, wink, like what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
like it gets very interesting, to say the least. So our cleaners, it's one of those positions where you can't give them enough credit for what they do. Because without them, anybody who walks in a home and a home is not, pristine, there goes our reputation. There goes the brand. And then now it becomes associated with something that you do not want it associated with.
Yeah, and we mention these people because they are like family. They have um, done a lot for the company. They've been there, and we believe if they choose, we'll have them there for the next 5 years. That's how important they are to us. But that's 5 years in. We went through, 15 other people who failed at what they do, and so we respect everything they bring to the table. So one is people, like Brandon said. You cannot be successful without the right people. Second is process. You can have the right people, but everyone's stressed because the right system isn't in place. We invested a lot of money into our own app. It's getting released in about 2-3 weeks now. We had our final run through last week. It's important because we use about 6-7 different random apps to manage our business. And a year ago, we said, you know what? We owe our team better. Our team should not have to use 6-7 apps and systems and all this stuff to run this business. We're going to create something that integrates all of it into one where
It's
they can
amazing.
be successful, and then they'll appreciate it more. And so we made a capital investment on that. And so processes are important, systems are important, and you have to constantly focus on those things if you want your team, no matter how good they are, to be even more successful. So that's how we manage it all behind the scenes.
Definitely.
I'll say this. I look at it like a Broadway show. You have what's going on in front of the curtain, which is what our clients see. When what they see is a clean home, an easy booking process, reasonable pricing, and availability based on what they need. That's what they see. Behind the curtain it's organized chaos. You've got people running around with wardrobe. You've got people running around with a project design or costume design, whatever it may be. But behind the scenes, it is organized chaos. And that's the reason why these processes are so important, because we're trying to cut down on that dramatically. Because not only do we want to continue to provide an excellent experience for our clients, but we also want to provide an excellent working environment for our team. We owe that to them. We've all sacrificed to get this to this point, and it is very important to us, each individual, to make sure that they have some form of work-life balance, that they're compensated, fair or beyond fair, and that they actually enjoy what they do each day. And that's our commitment to our team. That's our commitment to our clients. And again, front end, back end, and we just want to make sure that it all ties up into a nice, pretty bow.
That's so funny that immediately when you said that, like, everything's pretty on the surface, but then behind the scene, it's like a working, like a play or something. Immediately I thought in my head to this past weekend. This is totally a tangent, but you guys might enjoy it. We were furnishing our third midterm rental, and my family is my team, because we do this on a very small scale, just as kind of like a family project, something to do together. And they're out furnishing in Des Moines, Iowa. I'm at home with the stomach flu. So I'm like, their captain, and I've sent them 2 hours away from their house with a U-Haul full of stuff. And I'm like on my deathbed, pretty much. I'm so sick. No. And I was getting FaceTime videos like, is this where you want the TV? Is this where the bed goes? And in the background, my nephew, who's 8 years old, has found a dolly, and he's just going back and forth, riding it like he's riding a car. And then someone asked me, how's the furnishing going this weekend? And as a true professional, I was like, it's going seamlessly. Everything's going to plan. But at the end, I'm like, thank God I had a diagram, and we had the checklist, and we had, even though these systems, like, it was still pure chaos, there still was the structure behind it, and they were able to take the reins and do what needed to be done, and have fun riding a furniture cart as well.
I love that story, Katie, because that's so true.
My nephew
that is how it goes
very
down.
fairly with Cheetos. He got very fairly with Cheetos.
We've all had our nephews.
Brandon, you are killing it with the analogies. Katie and I were just saying we need to start watching these episodes for little 30-second shorts we can capture for to put out there on social media to grab attention for the episodes. And you are killing it with I'm thinking Nike. We just got the good one you just said about the organized chaos. So many great ones.
Nike, we're open to any endorsements you may have for us. Just give us a call.
Definitely. So So keeping the theme of, chasing perfection in everything that you do and being like the best version of yourself as a company. How does that work when you actually go in and start up a new property and put all the nice, luxurious amenities, the really good electronics, the quality furniture? How long does it take you guys to typically recoup that initial investment on a property and start being profitable?
Depending on the area, but I'd say a solid 6, 7 months is the short answer. You got some areas that are just, I mean, it's out of the north in Chicago, north of O'Hare. It's just property values are higher. All that means is you command more in your monthly rents. So you pay off that same investment very, quicker. The investment is the investment. You're going to spend 25 grand on everything, meaning your furniture, your labor, your property updates. Assuming minor, we only go after properties that are pretty much together. We don't do renovations. So you're going to spend that 25, 30K regardless if it's a south property versus north. But if you command more money north, obviously you're gonna pay it off quicker. So we go in knowing we won't break even until 6, 7 months in.
And did you take that same approach with your very first property, or have you tweaked it so that you from step one, you just made sure that you were set up for success and ready with the funds available?
Yeah, the only thing that's changed from property one to property 46 is we've gotten better cost on items. We're always searching
Uh-huh.
for better costs. So we probably spent more than 25, 30 early on, but very quickly we says we got to figure out a way to better costs. Work with a great furniture vendor here in Bolingbrook that's really helped us out a lot. In fact, we would not be where we are today without that furniture vendor because during COVID,
USA Furniture.
yes,
USA.
Look at them.
Sam
My
and his
man
team.
Sam, he hooks it up for us. He is unbelievable. He's a big part of why we're where we're at because, again, when COVID happened, there were furniture delays all over the place.
Yes.
It was a nightmare. We were getting ready to set properties up. There's money that has been set aside to get everything set up. We have a window. We have to get finished by this date, and all of a sudden, half the furniture is not going to be there, right? Because it's stuck in a port off Long Beach in California, and you're not going to get it. So now all of a sudden we got to rent a truck, and then we got to go to another furniture store and buy something that doesn't match the designer's vision. And we got to grab it, we got to load it up, we got to bring it up back in the house, we got to build it ourselves and put it together. I mean,
Okay.
not that we ever felt like we were just too big to do that, but time is money, right? So rather than continuously build the business, we're working on getting this property booked. Rather than working on getting the property booked, I'm down here with an Allen wrench trying to put together a bed frame, and as time went on, we started to bring in individuals like Trevor, for example, and he was one of our first guys who came in who was like, whatever you guys need, let me know. I'll run through a brick wall and back, because I agree, and I support the vision where you guys are trying to go with it. Those types of individuals early on, you touched on the fact that family is the team. Early on, family is the team, or individuals that you know very well. And so for us, it was about trying to make sure that we were growing the process, getting better at what we were doing, not having to put pictures in one place and take them down and move them somewhere else because it wasn't where it needed to be. Like we got better over time, and we started measuring twice and cutting once, as opposed to it being the other way around,
Right.
right? And
Right.
so there were a lot of lessons. I mean, I feel like I could write a book on the
Yeah.
lessons that we've learned over the years, but they all paid off.
Right.
For
I
sure.
think what's so cool is what I keep hearing you say over and over is like these fundamental business lessons, right? And it whether you have two properties, one property, spare room, or like you guys, you've got door after door after door after door. It's the fundamentals, right? And following those fundamentals. It's like you said, like, could you go and assemble a bed frame? Yeah. Is that the best use of your time for the business and for everyone involved? No. So you find those team members and you rely on them, right? And I know Kelly and I have talked even privately about so many little stories we have and just like, finding the people who can help move your business forward when everyone's in the lane doing what they do best is really when everyone succeeds. And it's not that, anyone is in a better place than anyone, or it's just like, here, this is what you're meant to do. This is what your skills are. This is where you're happy. Like, this is your zone of magic. Like, let's do whatever we can to keep you here. My family and I actually found a woman who lives close by a lot of our rentals who loves to build furniture. I mean, you wouldn't expect it if you saw this woman on the street, but she's like, give me a Wayfair dresser and some headphones and I'm in the zone. And I'm like, God bless you. Please give me your phone number. And now anytime we need it, I mean, like, she'll build a dresser for you for an incredible rate. And it's amazing how much that has helped our processes, right? But from the very small level that, like, right, we have a dresser builder and you guys have a whole team. It's the same fundamentals that anyone, no matter where their level of business is, can pull from and take that. So I think that's really important for anyone who's listening, is like, the fundamentals are the fundamentals, like, but apply them to your business no matter what level your business is at.
Yeah.
And before we move on to a new topic, I want to hone in on advice from you guys, because if you jump on the Furnish Finder Travel Nurse Housing Facebook group or any of the Facebook groups out there about midterm rentals, one of the biggest questions is always, but how do I know I should spend that 25 grand to start my first midterm rental and see how it goes? So what advice do you have for those out there that they're not seeing the market research that tells them that they should pull the trigger, or even if they are seeing it and they're just nervous about pulling the trigger? What advice do you have?
One thing that we did, and I didn't even remember this until your question came up. You can create a profile, just a random profile that is not yours, and you put on there, hey, this is just for testing purposes. And the reason you put that, obviously for disclosure, so that people that are looking will know that. But what's funny is, before they see that language, you get inquiries, right? And so if you ever want to test the market that you're not in and you're just super curious, set up a profile for 2 weeks. Measure everything on 2 weeks. If you get 0 leads in 2 weeks in this random city, then you gotta figure it out, right? Is it the pictures you posted? Is it the pricing? What is it? But if you get a lead a day, as an example, that's your test data. Now flip that profile into a real profile. Buy your furniture, put your real pictures there. It's the same profile, but we did that we had a couple areas we just did not know. Now we pretty much know the areas, but it was a couple areas we're like, I don't know. And we did that. And in 2 weeks, because we always run a 2-week sample, it proved out. And that's how we made some decisions very early on. Now what happens is, because we have such a network, we're going to get calls and leads from areas we're not in. So we don't have to do that test, because the data's coming in, the inquiries are coming in hot and heavy anyway. But when you're first starting off, run an A/B test. And by running those A/B tests, you'll find out if you should set it up in a certain area or not.
And I want to remind everyone that on Furnish Finder now, we do have buttons that you can click that says things like furnishing under, I don't remember the verbiage, but it's like furnishing underway or currently being furnished or something like that. And you can always put in your profile, like, this is like a real property, but we're considering all leases right now or something. But I think that's the point, is to be transparent and clear.
Exactly.
And I know you guys have properties listed on Furnish Finder. Where else are you guys posting to kind of test the market out?
Apartments.com, Zillow, other realtor related websites, in cities. Every city has their own board. We post them there. There's a lot of different websites. Yeah, short-term rental websites like Airbnb, VRBO. We make sure we put on there, obviously, that we only accept 30 plus days. So you just have to be transparent. Wherever you want to post, you just put, what are you looking for? What are you expecting? And individuals, what's interesting is, folks, they don't know all the rules of the industry. They just need a house for 3 months. So they go everywhere and they try to find it. Google. We spend a lot of money on our SEO effort. Shout out to SEO Level Up. We've been with them 3-4 years now, and we get Google leads, and so it's been an investment over 3 or 4 years. But you get folks right now that are coming in and they're like, I found you on Google. Great. So it's an investment. It takes time. None of that SEO related marketing happens in a year or under. But if you set your seeds up, they will sprout over time.
Yeah.
And those guys over there at SEO Level Up are awesome. They're knowledgeable. They're reasonable on price. We went through probably 3 different companies before we found them. So that's another piece of advice. No matter what you do, if you're not seeing the results, you have to be willing and ready to pivot, because the worst thing to do is throwing money at something and you're not getting results. There's an element of patience that has to also be applied to it. And
Yeah.
you have to constantly challenge yourself. One of the things that I think Bob and I do very well is we're constantly challenging each other. We're always trying to get the best as we continue to chase excellence. We're always trying to get the best out of each other. That goes down from he and I all the way down throughout the team. Anybody that we partner with, any electrician, any plumber, any handyman, anyone, right? If you're going to be a part of what we're doing, buckle up your chin strap, because we're getting ready to work, and we need individuals to execute, because at the end of the day, our clients demand it, our employees demand it, and the brand itself is what it stands for. So my advice is to always critique what you're doing, think about it. Obviously you got to pull the trigger, but don't hesitate to pivot if you identify that something else needs to be done.
Okay, so we're down to our last 3 questions. Thanks, guys. It's been really great content. So I think I'm going to get 2. Katie gets 1 more. I get 2 more, just because I'm the host and it's fun that way.
Oh, she's pulling the host card, people. I'll take it. Sorry.
So, how should Furnish Finder best partner with corporate housing providers in the future? What do you guys foresee there?
So that's an interesting question. I think Furnish Finder is already on to something. When we were at CHPA and we met with Cami, one thing that was highlighted was, yes, travel nurses and medical professionals is a core of that your business, but the company itself was looking to get more into other avenues stronger. And so I think by default, you guys are setting yourself up and your company up to diversify. And that's what we believe in, right? Brandon highlighted that earlier. And so for us, the more you're getting the clients coming to your site, we're listing homes on your site, I almost think it's a perfect match by default. But our core inventory doesn't necessarily blend with a lot of medical professionals. We're not a very low price, just to be transparent. You have a bigger house, you have 3-4 bedrooms, so that does cost. But when you partner with corporate and clients traveling and executives traveling, they have bigger budgets than some of your medical professionals. So I think that's the match, and I think that angle that Furnish Finder is already taking, we're going to see those relationships grow over the next year. So we're excited to stay on for the ride and continue growing our partnership.
Excellent.
Couldn't agree more.
So let's say that I just want to invest in you guys and your company and what you're doing. What are the current investment opportunities that you guys can offer right now?
Yeah, so to date, we don't have any investors in the company itself. But again, within 3 months, we're really going to put something on paper regarding that. And that would be opening up other markets. That'd be a way that others can really invest into the company and then reap those rewards as well. So we're early in that process, but we've hired a third-party company who's helping us vet some options. Great team. So we hope very soon they're going to see on our website, and in about 2 months, 3 months latest, all the investment opportunities that's coming up with FHS.
To be clear, in the past, we have partnered with individuals who owned properties.
Right.
I think we touched on that earlier, and I don't want anyone to watch this and say, wait a minute, there's a contradiction here. No contradiction. Let's clarify. There's always that one guy, right? There's always that one guy, like 2 a.m.
Yes, we know them well. Yes.
And he's like in the chat group, just going away. So for that one guy, whoever you are, here's what we mean by that. There's been opportunities in the past to work with individuals who own homes. Those are, when earlier we mentioned investors, we've had a couple of individuals who've wanted to put furniture in these properties, and we've had an agreement with them. those opportunities are far and few in between, and we're not currently doing that anymore. But to Bob's point, the true opportunity to invest will be moving forward into the future expansion.
Good call out, Brandon.
Awesome. I had a situation like that a couple episodes back. 'Cause the comments that come in, I'm typically the first line of defense to read all the YouTube comments, and one of them was non-refundable $1,000 pet deposit. Okay, wow. I was like, no, 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 no. I had to go look back at the episode. Did I say non-refundable on there? And so, yeah, it was not received in the right way. And so I followed up. I was
We're
like,
not perfect,
definitely
everyone.
refundable.
We're not
Right.
perfect. We try so
It's definitely
hard.
refundable.
We
And
try
it's
so
not
hard.
$1,000.
Yeah.
The $1,000 was for the overall security deposit. But somehow it got the message that came across to that gentleman was a non-refundable $1,000 pet deposit. Oh no.
I mean, if you have like a pet indoor donkey or something, I think that's appropriate. Just gonna say.
Now, I've been watching our wording a lot more since that comment. But my last question is for Brandon to be able to, one, tell everyone if they want to connect with you. We're going to, of course, have all of your links and hopefully some videos on the episode, things like that. So I want you to tell everyone how you'd like them to connect so that you can give us your last on-the-spot analogy.
All right, everybody, come close.
He's like, let me show you my Jordans.
Close.
No. So what you want to do is there's multiple ways you can reach us. You can reach us on any of our social media platforms. We are on IG. We are on Facebook, Twitter. I think we're on some of the newer ones that my kids are on that I don't know too much about. But those are the main ones. Obviously, our website at www.leasefhs.com. You can go there. You can watch some of our videos. You can read our bios. You can look at all of our properties. There are walkthrough videos. So anyone who's looking to find out any information about our company, you can definitely reach us there. Our email addresses are there, so you can shoot us an email as well. Obviously, I'm sure you'll be able to potentially reach out through this awesome broadcast that we're having right now. You guys have been excellent. You guys have been great. When we met at CHPA, I had no idea that we'd have this much fun sitting down doing this. This is awesome.
Yes.
Good.
So if you guys ever want us back, I'm sure we would love to do that. If it's a slow week, I'm sure I can jump on and throw a couple logs in the fire and we can just talk about something, right? So no, but ultimately, we're not hard to find. You can find us again in any of those locations, and we're always available. Our hotline, we have a hotline as well on our website. You can give us a call, and it's a good chance you'll actually get an opportunity to speak with myself or Bob, because no matter how big we get, we're very personable. This will always be our baby, and we'll always be here to serve and provide that excellent customer service to all of our clients.
You can tell for sure. And I'm pretty sure we got an analogy in there. He said, you throw that log on the fire. Don't forget. Well, thank you guys so much. It has been fun. Enjoy the rest of your week. And everybody, if you are liking our content, please subscribe, or we would absolutely appreciate your 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And if you'd like to comment about something that you'd like to hear, a topic, or want to reach out to these guys, then do so on YouTube. Thank you so much. Have a great week, everyone.
Bye.